Hey everyone, KoBaC here. We're going to be talking about Lorcana Whispers in the Well, and I'm kind of going to do kind of a overview of the set, and then we're going to go through a number of cards that I feel are some of the better ones that are kind of sticking out to me right now. Obviously, once the meta gets going, certain cards start to rise and fall, even if we predicted them to be one way or the other. So I won't be going over every single card. I'll be going over which ones I think are probably the better ones, so that like maybe if you pull them and you don't really know if maybe they have as good of value or something, maybe hold on to it or trade it with a little bit more purpose behind it instead of just kind of whatever. I'll do this for an uncommon kind of thing. So let's get into that now. So here I am on dreamborn.inc. It's a really cool resource for us in the community to be able to build our decks, share deck lists, and obviously be able to track our collections. And they even have a trade feature as well to kind of help give you a value of what the cards are based on sites like TCG Player. So here we are, Whispers in the Well. We got all the cards. Let's turn the filter on so we don't go past it. Let's do just to Whispers. And I've kind of blown it up a little bit more, hoping that you guys can see it a little bit better, especially if you're on a phone. So starting off, obviously, with Amber. Well, let's do an overview. So this set overall, I feel that the legendaries as a whole stand out as being better and more playable than we've had in previous sets for a while. Most of the time, it feels like legendaries don't really feel very legendary. We'll have, ones that stand out really well from the rest of the crowd, like, the Amethyst Dumbo, the Sapphire Tamatoa, the Ruby Half Shark, Maui Half Shark. Those ones stand out way above everybody else. The Amber Rapunzel from first chapter. These are legendaries that people wanted 4 ofs. They wanted the foil play set of if they could get it for the bigger collectors. So these are, obviously very powerful cards. But a lot of the time, the legendaries don't really feel like they stand out from everything else. Sometimes they feel kind of like the uncommons and commons are better than them. I'm happy to see that in this set, while they may not be the most powerful cards that there are available in Whispers, they're at least something to consider when sometimes we run into them. We're like, whatever. It's cool to get a legendary, but it's only worth like $1, right? So in here, I'm going to try not to go over, like I said, every single card. We're going to try to hit the highlights. So we have one of the first legendaries right off the bat, Rapunzel. She's 2 cost. Whenever one of your characters is chosen for support until the start of your next turn, so even this turn when you do it, the next time that character would be dealt damage, they take no damage instead. So what this means, it's worded interesting enough, but just in case there's a little bit of confusion. She has support. So I use my Amber Rapunzel. I quest with her. I then give her strength or her damage to another character. So say I pick Gaston. Gaston is now for this turn a 4/3 because I took her 1, put it to him, right? Now that he has support applied to him, the next time until the start of my next turn, so all through my opponent's turn and this turn, the next time that Gaston would take damage, he won't take damage. Now, this does not prevent things like Dragonfire or Maleficent Dragon or Bee King Undisputed. Things that don't do damage, they just say banish. Strength does damage, so strength wouldn't apply. But things like Dragonfire, they go right through that. But Gaston would not take damage. So maybe I decide to use Gaston and his 4 damage to hit one of my opponent's cards, wiping it out. My Gaston takes no damage, and I eliminated my opponent. Or I quest with Gaston, and then on my next turn, I hit Gaston with Maui Half Shark. Just pick a card. Gaston won't take damage, so I'll have to hit with something else first, then with the Half Shark in order for me to defeat and banish Gaston. So this is this card could be in a deck. I could see it in Amber Sapphire because there's a lot of support between the 2 of those. You got like Alice Growing Girl where she gives support, I believe, to all other characters. So then you can make any of your characters give support to each other. And then you can kind of layer the protection from Rapunzel across them. And that could be pretty interesting. She doesn't quest real big, but she also doesn't cost a lot, right? We'll get to why don't we just go ahead and do that here? Boost. I like the idea of implementing characters here. So like if you haven't seen this yet, Gaston is the first one in order. They're Whispers. It's a new keyword. So it's a new card type. So they're characters still, but they're whispers. So kind of like we had illusions, they had a separate ability from the rest of the ordinary characters. Whispers have an ability called boost. So once during your turn, you pay 2. So in this case, it's 2, but it'll be whatever numbers here. So it's really 1, 2, or 3 right now is all that we have. You put the top card of your deck. You don't look at it. You take it face down, put it under Gaston, and then that activates this ability. Now, some of them, the boost is only when there's a card placed under, like right in that moment. Other ones are if there's a card under this card at all, at any point, it has X ability. So like for Gaston, whenever this character quests, if there's a card under him, chosen opposing character can't challenge and must quest if able during their next turn. So right, he has this ability, but only if there's a card under him. So we might see more and more cards to help us place cards under other characters or other locations. But we have boost that we would pay 2 ink. We could take the top card and do it right then and there. My overall feeling, and I'm not the greatest meta player. I've won a number of set champs, but I would not put myself up there in the world's category by any stretch. I feel without doing a lot more extensive testing that by and large, boost is going to be a trap. It's a really cool idea, but right now, with the way that the game currently is being played, it's going to interfere with the tempo, with the flow of cards being played. By that, I mean, you're trying to play a 1 on turn 1, a cost 2 on turn 2, a cost 3 on turn 3, right? You're setting up a beat and a rhythm to what you're doing. And if you're Sapphire, you're trying to ramp on turn 2 to get that extra ink so that on turn 3, you're playing a 4-cost character. So you're going 1, 2, 4, 5, right? And so on, unless you're ramping additional times in between. So you're trying to do whatever the flow of your deck is. Boosting, because it costs ink to do it, I think is going to interfere with that in a lot of ways. So like if I were to play this Higgins on turn 1, then I play Gaston on 2, I can't then play a 3-cost Raja on 3 and do the boost because I've only got 3 ink, right? If I've inked every time. So I won't be able to do Gaston's ability as well. So on turn 3, what am I going to do? Am I going to boost Gaston and then play another 1-cost character? Or am I, maybe I don't play a character at all because I don't have an additional 1. So I think that the boosting, you have to tailor your deck to really be mindful of when do I want, in the flow of the game, do I want to boost? Obviously, if the game goes late and maybe your deck isn't really good at drawing cards, so you feel you might end up with extra ink on certain turns, boosting could be great for you. For things like Amethyst Steel, we're trying to maximize how much ink we're using every turn and trying to keep things moving forward. So right now, as is, I don't feel that boost is something that we should go all in on. I think we should really do it by case or card by card basis and try to work it in such a way that we really feel we're going to optimize its abilities rather than just taking it because like, oh, the ability is really cool. But when in the flow of the game are you wanting to do it? I think that's just something to be mindful of. And that is the biggest new thing that's added. There's another keyword alert, which we'll get to when we come across one of them. But I just wanted to cover that before we got too far ahead. The rest of these, they could be interesting. They could be, obviously a 1 that's 2/2 is a vanilla. We've had a lot of those. I'm going to butcher this. Eilonwy. I haven't seen the movie yet. She has support. She's Basil, right? The Sapphire Basil that we've seen all over the place in Blurple decks in the last set and Fabled. So we'll kind of see Scrooge. When you play this character, chosen character with a card under them gets +1 lore. That's not the good Scrooge. There's another one coming up. Mrs. Beakley here being a 4-cost that has 6 health might be good for Bodyguard. We got this Gurgi, but he heals kind of similar to what Julieta or Rapunzel did, but there's no card draw, so that's not super helpful. Shanti being a 3-cost that sings for 5 might be helpful, but I really feel in most instances Troubadour is just better. There's not a lot of 5-cost songs that are phenomenal, so they're usually 4 or less, so we have better options. This Sebastian we've seen before on like the Emerald Olivia Flaversham, pretty similar stats. Quest really big, Quest for 3, it's only a 2-cost, but it's uninkable. This Ariel is one of the better ones, and she also has an iconic. But this Ariel is one of probably the ones that I would think is a little bit more playable when it comes to Whispers because her boost ability is only 1. So she's a 4-cost, that is once during your turn whenever you play a song. So that doesn't mean sing. Whenever you play at all, if there's a card under this character, Ariel, you may draw a card. So you can only do it once a turn, but every turn you play a song, you'll be able to draw a card as long as she has something under her, right? If she's been boosted or another ability to put a card under her. That is really good because you don't have to pay anything extra. So you only boost the one time, and then as soon as you play that song. Now, it's very possible that you could, on turn 5, play Ariel, boost immediately, sing a song with some other character, and immediately draw a card. And I think that would be the better way to play her. Don't play her on 4, you play her on 5 so that you can optimize her. Because typically, if you play a character, if you're sitting across from me and you play a character that has a really good ability, I want to get rid of it as soon as possible. And if you have a character that you have to set up, let it dry, right? And basically look at me and say, please don't touch my stuff, right? And then it really, I'm compelled to want to, then you want to try to figure out a way to kind of keep it safe until you do its ability. So I think playing her on 5, giving her the boost is the way to do that. Will she see a lot of play in core constructed? I don't super think so currently. I think she definitely has a place in Amber Steel and Infinity because it's a more consistent or another consistent way to draw cards, but we will kind of see. This Scrooge I think is decent. Whenever you play a character or a location with boost, you put the top card of your deck face down under them. So he has to be on the table. You play another character like Ariel, for example, and you immediately boost her for free. But he costs 6. Yeah, you can shift him, but he's expensive to kind of get set up. But then from then on, you can boost, basically as soon as you play those characters. And you can play multiple characters with boost or locations, and you immediately, boost them. That's a pretty good ability if you can kind of find a deck that makes it work. This Mowgli, I think, is going to be one of the better cards in the set. Kind of surprised with his ability that he's not a legendary, or at least I thought he, could kind of justify being a legendary. When you play this character, chosen opponent reveals their hand and discards a non-character card of their choice. So if you play this to me, I show you my whole hand, so that way you know I'm not hiding anything, and then I get to pick which of my non-characters, so items, locations, actions, songs, right? All of those are eligible to be chosen, as long as not a character. I pick one, I choose which one gets discarded. So unlike the Emerald Ursula, where you look at my hand and you pick the song from me, I get to pick. Now, you might think, well, KoBaC, that's kind of stupid to play this on turn 2. It might not be the best turn 2, but it might be a really good turn 4 play for Amber when they're, they're over there inking and trying to get all set up, and then all of a sudden Mowgli gets played and they have to lose something that they've been trying to set up, like Spooky Sight, which we'll get to in a little bit, or Under the Sea, or Strength, right? They might only have the one non-character card in their hand and they have to pick it. So I think Mowgli is very good, but might not be the best turn 2 play, but very good card. Simba, I kind of think is a trap. I think he's expensive. It's cool and enchanted, but I think he's expensive because he has to boost for 3. I think that's just, it's expensive. He's not as good as Mufasa because Mufasa was, as soon as he's played and he gets banished, you just get the card. This one you have to, boost with him. And then, whenever whenever you put a card under this character, so I have to boost him, you may reveal the top card of your deck. If it's a character, you may play that for free and they enter play exerted. So much like with Mufasa, otherwise you put it on the bottom of your deck. So unlike Mufasa where you kind of show it and it kind of stays there, this one will go to the bottom if it's not a character. So you'd want to put it in a very character heavy deck to get the full optimization out of it. It's just, I think it's kind of hard to get around to playing him. This here is the first champion. So every color now has a champion for their color. So this one, the Amber champion, that applies to only that color. So Mickey here, your other Amber characters get +2 willpower, so +2 health for every single one. So all those daisies that they're over there playing in front of you, they slap down Mickey and now all of a sudden they're 6s. That's terrifying. I think that this is either the best or second best of all the champions, and not all of them are as great. Yeah, his other ability of if you have 2 or more other Amber characters, you get, Singer 8, but I think by them being just 2 extra health alone is worth it. Now, it is worth pointing out that all dual colors, as long as they have the primary color, should benefit from this. So then that way, if you have the dual colors from previous set, then you'll be able to, take part in that. Why are you up here? You're a Sapphire card. Get out of here. We got Gazelle is interesting. Some of these are a little bit more on the weaker side. You could see this maybe being in like a yellow-green, because chosen opposing character gets -2 strength until the start of your next turn, and then you draw a card. It might be okay in a yellow-green that's trying to do an Under the Sea, but I think that Spooky Sight is going to really mess up the yellow-greens to be able to even have a chance. This is a card that people are pointing out, like, well, it gets rid of Dumbos because you just banish a chosen character with evasive, and then you draw a card, so it replaces itself. The downside is this is not a song. If this was a song, I would be super scared as an Amethyst Steel player, but because it's not, I think I'm probably pretty safe, because the Steel Song players, which are Amber Steel, are going to want to have more songs available to get the utilization out of their stuff. Their songs that do damage already defeat my Dumbo or, some other evasive character, minus like Elsa, who has 5 health. So do they really want to mess with this? I don't think it really probably has a place for them. It's nice to have it available, but I don't really think it's going to see a lot of play. This Webby's Diary, whenever you put a card under one of your characters or location, you may pay 1 to draw a card. So if you were to get some sort of synergy going with Scrooge, you might be able to get something going, but I think overall this card is probably going to be falling into cool ability. I wish it was a little cheaper so I could play it. The Black Cauldron, I don't think this is a good card. I think it's just too expensive for getting the ability. So it costs 3, it's uninkable. You exert it, and you pay 1 to put a character card from your discard under this item face up. So you get to know that, like, maybe I put Doc or Pete or Amethyst Genie or something right underneath to help me draw more cards, or something that's going to do, an immediate banishment or some other ability. But here's the other side of the tax of it. You exert the item, pay 1. This turn, you may play characters from under this item. So that means I still have to pay for them, but I get access to the full library that's underneath the Black Cauldron. Downside is I play this, let's say on turn 3, right? You banish something of mine. So on turn 4, I exert it, pay 1, put my character, maybe it's a Daisy, underneath the Black Cauldron. Now on turn 5, I finally have the ability to play Daisy again, but I'm paying an extra 1 and exerting the item, which means I'm not putting any other character under this. So I think by the time you put enough characters to matter under this, that this just isn't going to see play. And if this does start to see play, I think all you'll see is other decks coming up with ways to remove items, and that this will just be a dead on arrival card, dead on sight, and they won't be able to get anything really going with it. Very cool idea. I just, with having to pay 1 and exerting it to move stuff, I think it's just too much. If you could just pay 1 and put, any number of character cards under it, or if I had to pay maybe 2 or 3 and I could put any number of my cards from my discard under it, maybe that, and then have to wait another turn, then re-exert it and pay another tax in order to access that catalog of cards might be a better thing. But the way that this is, I think it's not going to see any play. We got our next champion here. I'll point these ones out because it's interesting to have something that kind of encourages monocolor or very color supported. Whenever one of your other Amethyst cards is banished in a challenge, you may draw a card. I can see Minnie being some useful because she's kind of like a library. The downside is it has to be in a challenge, and I think that just limits her too much. And in the testing that we have been doing, I find that when you play her, my first thought is take her out. Don't even worry about anything else on the table. Take her out because I don't want to give you more cards. Because if I banish her, you're not getting that. So, and if I'm playing songs, you're not going to get it anyway because it's only in a challenge. So I don't think she's super, super duper playable. I am not a fan of the Horned King at all. Just the ability of, you can shift him early, great. And he's a 3/4, great. But, whenever one of your other characters is banished in a challenge, so other, not him, other characters, you may return that card to your hand, then choose and discard a card. This isn't super helpful early on in the game. You'd have to be a very aggressive kind of deck. And if I don't want to play him on turn 2, or turn 3, because, well, actually even on turn 2, because I could turn 1 play Horned King, turn 2 play this one, but then on turn 3 do what? Fight anything? He banishes himself and then I don't get him back? I have to play other things, get those set up, then they challenge, then I get them back to my hand, and then I'm discarding another card to get them back. It's a lot of noise is what it kind of feels like. It's probably very thematic, but it at the end of the day, too much happening. Cauldron Born, amazing looking card, sucks it's vanilla. Skip that Demona. Iago. This Iago right here, you're gonna see this guy all over the place. Challenger 5 for a 2 cost that's inkable. Who cares if he never quests? I just look at my opponent and say, turn anything sideways. It's dead. I don't care if he trades. It's gone. The only, balance to him is that he has 2 health. So fire the cannons or even a fairly weak strength can take him out. But the threat of him on turn 2 and just staring at your opponent, I think way outweighs any sort of negatives with him. We got the Violet Saberwing. She's an evasive, just inherently. She's just a Pegasus or blanking on her name. From Wreck-It Ralph. They're just evasives that do 3-1, so it's nice. It kind of synergizes with Dumbo, so you can have this on 2. Kind of weak. I would prefer to play, if I'm doing Amethyst Steel, to play Smee or Jafar. But, this Elsa is kind of a Maleficent that we had from first chapter. When you play this character, you just draw a card. I like that. That could be useful in the right deck. Duckworth having Rush, but he's a 3-1. Let's see. Going through these. Demona. There's a lot of noise around Demona that people are going to want to play her. When you play this character, exert all opposing characters. Then each player with fewer than 3 cards in their hand draws until they have 3. And this is a good point to also point out. All of the gargoyles, there's a bunch of gargoyle cards added to this. Any of the actual gargoyles themselves have the Stone by Day ability, which is if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, this character can't ready. So if they haven't been exerted, you can still challenge, sing, whatever. But as soon as they're exerted and you have 3 or more cards in your hand at the start of your turn, they can't ready, right? So that kind of is a problem. Her ability, though, of being able to allow you to draw, but it is also for your opponent, 3 cards. The exerting is nice because maybe you've set things up to be able to challenge them. Maybe not. I mean, her costing 6, it's a little bit later in the game. You could have stalled them to the point where then you all of a sudden exert everything and you start blowing stuff up. Or you've been trading back and forth and exerting doesn't do anything. I think one of her better things is you drawing 3 cards. So you kind of play your hand out and then draw. So she's kind of like a super doc. The downside is your opponent does as well. Maybe you only give them 1 card. Maybe they had more than 3, and that doesn't matter if they're blue-green or some sort of amethyst build. It might not be so bad. I don't see her being a 4 of card, but I could see her being a 2 or 3 in most decks. This card right here, Hades, I think is the most slept on card in the set, personally. When you play this character, you may choose an opposing character. If you do, draw 2 cards unless that character's player puts that card on the bottom of their deck. So they're not banished, they're not inked, they're just removed from play. So any sort of when banished ability doesn't happen, right? Doesn't get triggered because they're just removing them from the game. They're not banishing them. A lot of people are saying, well, all that's going to happen is you're going to draw 2 cards because I'm never going to let you banish my character. I think that I'm willing to take that risk to be able to top deck this card in Amethyst Steel or certain other colors that might have, I mean, you could see Blurple playing some of him or Amethyst Ruby, that you're able to top deck this, play it, and then I'm like, well, you're not taking care of my character. I need it to be able to do what I need to do. Okay, fine. I'm going to draw 2 cards. So I've added an extra Doc into my deck. Yes, he costs 5, but he's inkable, unlike Doc. He does 3, 4. He only quests for 1, but he's a 5, so he can sing a wide range of songs. He has a nice health pool to kind of take a hit and keep going, right? There's a lot to him that's useful for being able to kind of plan around him. So I think that this is a really great card. I don't know if it would be a 4 of in most decks, but I think he's going to be a really good answer to a lot of things other people do. This Olaf, personally, I feel is a trap. I've seen a lot of people talk about this. You know, when this character leaves play, because that banish anything, right? When he leaves play, you may return chosen character of yours to your hand. So some other character you have on the table, you basically bounce them back to your hand when this Olaf leaves play. That could be from him being bounced. It could be from him being banished, whether you've done the challenge or not. It doesn't happen just on your turn. It's just whenever he leaves the table, you get to choose to return one of your characters. You don't have to do it, but you get to choose to do it. I think the reason that this is a trap is he's not a good turn 1, for one thing. He costs 1, he's inkable. He's got 2 1s that makes him super frail to lots of things. I think he's just going to have so many negatives against him that you're not going to utilize the best turns for him. And I think he's going to be sniped and it's not going to get a lot of stuff out of it. This Ursula is one of the better boost cards because when she has a card under her, she gets +1 lore. So she'll be a 3 and she has evasive. If you played her on 6, right, to play 5, boost her immediately, it's not so bad, but she has no other ability other than she just gets slightly increased stats. I personally don't see a lot of value in her, but I could see some people do. Cheshire Cat, on the other hand, I think is probably my favorite boost card in the set. So his ability, whenever you put a card under this character, you may move up to 2 damage counters from chosen character to chosen opposing character. So he is effectively a permanent Bell. So he costs 3 to get on the table. He's inkable, so you can, just like with Bell, you can be flexible with him with how he needs to be played. He has decent enough stats to stay in the fight. You could play him on turn 3 and not worry about his ability till later in the game. And then all of a sudden, oh, my genie hits your genie. And then I boost, and then I do 2 damage. Oh, genie's gone, and my genie's at full health. I think having that around consistently in the right build is going to be gross. Going to be gross. Can't hold it back anymore is one I see people kind of getting into. I mean, it's gotten enchanted, so that's nice. But so it's a 4-cost song. Exert chosen opposing character. So if they're an illusion, they're immediately gone. Move all damage counters from all other characters to that character. I wish that I had the choice of which characters the damage was being moved from, because maybe I want to heal my whole side, but I don't want to do the same to yours, right? To banish something of yours. So it's one of those good and bad cards where it's going to kind of help in certain instances your opponent. Yeah. Performance review is interesting. You exert chosen ready character of yours to draw cards equal to that character's lore. So that could be really helpful if you're running a bigger lore character. Fragile as a Flower. I like this card because I like other cards like Lose the Way. Except now this is a song. You just draw a card. No matter what, you're going to replace this card as a song. Exert chosen character with cost 2 or less. They can't ready at the start of their turn. Yes, this won't always see the best play, but the fact that I can just sing it for 3 and immediately draw a card, it's not yet as good as Friends on the other side where I'm drawing 2, but the fact that I don't see my answer, I need to dig through my deck. Okay, I can play Fragile as a Flower, I can sing this, and then maybe I do get to exert something of theirs, and then they don't ready, so if it's Daisies, right, or other characters that are Sebastian, right? The new Sebastian. Hit them with this. They're not going anywhere. I don't have to worry about fighting them this turn or challenging, but I'm going to kind of keep going and looking for what I need. That's kind of nice. Speaking of Friends on the other side, we kind of have that sort of built in here. It's a 2-cost item, Junior Woodchuck Guidebook. You exert the item, which you can do the moment it's played. You don't have to wait for it to dry like characters. You pay 1, banish this item, draw 2 cards. So it basically is pay 3, draw 2. I don't really see this probably seeing a lot of play in other Amethyst decks, but in Blurple, where they might decide to start sticking in some Tamatoas, it could work. It could work. The Great Illuminary is another one of those interesting cards. So characters at the location gain, exert them, and draw a card. So it's a 2-cost location, so it's not super expensive. It does generate lore. It only costs 1 to put them there. And then all of your characters, while they're there, I could just turn them and draw a card. In the right build, this might see some use. I kind of feel that Library is still better. Yes, it costs 3 to put down. Yes, it costs 1 to put them there. They don't draw a card from just exerting. But I think the presence of them being able to be at this 8 health location that does generate 1 lore, I think outweighs the benefits of the Great Illuminary. When Library gets rotated out, if locations do become a thing, I could see a little bit more use of this card. But in the short term, if locations are coming back into the meta, I think that Library is probably going to see more consistent use. All right, so now into Emerald. Let's see. Webby here is good, potentially, because of the legendary that we'll get to. So she's a 1-drop, and keep that in mind for the legendary when we get down to it. There's some big bodies here. Like, you got Ka, you got Hook Hand, even Vladimir. Like, you got, big, expensive cards, Jetsam, that have a lot of health, do a lot of damage when challenging or being challenged, but it's kind of just okay. This Flynn Rider, I think, is kind of interesting. His boost isn't so bad because he's so cheap to get to the table. While there's a card under this character, he gets 2 strength and +1 lore. So he'll become on turn 2. You could do it. So you could play him on 1, boost on 2. He immediately can quest for 2 and do 3 damage when challenged. He has 2 health, so he's vulnerable to fire the cannons. But he has a decent kind of thing going on. Plus, he is classified as a prince. So any other cohesions you might do with that may be helpful. I don't think this is like a gotta play it card, but it is a decent card. I'm trying to remember. When you play this character, you may put the top card of your deck face down under one of your characters or locations with boost. Emily Quackfaster, I think, might be a card that I don't see a lot of people talking about. Could see some cohesion from her. Anything else standing out? Baloo, I know some people like this. I don't know if it's just because it has an enchanted. He shifts for 3. There's already a 2-cost Baloo Emerald in this set. I personally don't really care for him because when you play this character, choose one. You either, each player or all players are going to draw a card, or all players are going to choose and discard a card. I wish that it was all players draw a card, or chosen opponent or all opponents discard a card. So you don't discard a card to play him. Everybody else does. But if you want to draw a card, everyone's going to benefit. I think that would have been better. I just don't super care for him. I don't really think he's going to see a lot of play. In Emerald Sapphire decks, they already have good shift targets. They already kind of have their lines already figured out. Could they be improved? For sure. I just don't really think that Baloo is the way to go about it. We have Shere Khan here. He's evasive. Whenever this character quests, banish chosen opposing damaged character. Then you may put 1 damage counter on another chosen character. This could be good, or it could be one of those, I love it, but it's just not good enough kind of cards. The Goofy is the Emerald champion. I think he is the best champion so far myself. Whenever one of your other Emerald characters is challenged and banish the challenging character, and your other Emerald characters gain ward. So he effectively turns every one of your Emerald, every one of your green cards into the first chapter Cusco. So when he gets banished and he had ward, when he gets banished by a challenge, that character also is banished. I think that if they can get some sort of, when I say they, I mean Emerald players, can get some sort of cohesion going with this, this may be one of the most frustrating cards because he doesn't have ward, but if you play 2 of them, if you put it together with Emerald Sapphire, you could play Aurora and give him ward. There's just ways to kind of protect him, and you make all of your other guys that are questing. Like, think about it. If you could get Olivia Flaversham to stick on the table long enough to get Goofy, now she has ward. She's questing for 3, right? She's questing. If they ever banish her in a challenge, that character is also gone. Doesn't matter what it is. That's a pretty big deal, I think. This Webby is probably one of the better legendaries that we're going to see in this set, personally. She shifts for 2, so you've already got a 1-drop. You can shift her on 2. She has ward. Whenever this character quests, if an opponent has more cards in their inkwell than you may put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. So that's nuts, right? If I'm going second, you've already inked. I play my little Webby on 1. Now you've inked to 2. I now ink to 2, shift her, right? It doesn't help in that situation, but if you've ramped, then I'm already behind. Right? So I can just quest with her, or I don't have to ink as often. I can keep those cards because Webby is going to kind of help me to catch up to you without even having to directly ink. And with her having ward, you can't just take her out without me turning sideways. So 4 health, yeah, she could survive a couple of different hits. Is she going to be the most amazing thing in the world? I don't know. I like Trust in Me. It's a song, 6 uninkable. You get to choose one of these. And I always like things where you get to choose, unlike the Baloo that I think is just booty. But normally I like the Emerald choosing things, like with Anna. I love that card. Each opposing character gets -1 lore until the start of your next turn. So all opposing characters. Each opponent chooses and discards 2 cards. You either hit the aggro or whatever player with a -1 to every one of their characters. So you thought you had lethal on board. You thought you were going to quest and win. Bam, trust in me. No, you're not. And if I don't need that and I just want to nuke your hand, I make you choose and discard 2 cards. That's crazy. For a song, yeah, it's 6 uninkable, but I really like it. I really like it. This has got to be a contender. Malicious, Mean, and Scary is got to be the contender for either probably one of the scariest cards in this set, or it's in like the top 3. It's a 3-cost inkable song. Put 1 damage counter on each opposing character. It's not deal, it's put. So that means anything with resist is also going to take 1 damage. So all opposing. It is a grab your swords that's just jacked. This is a crazy card. It's really crazy. I'm not thrilled about it because I've kind of gotten off of Emerald, but it makes me want to think about going back. That is going to be a nuts card, and foils will probably be maybe $10 or more for this when things start to even settle. All right, now we're on to Ruby because I don't really care for this location, the White Agony Plains. This location gets +1 lore for each character here. I could see that working in a really extreme aggro deck. I mean, yellow-green is kind of built for that. But when we get down to Spooky Site, you're going to see that like yellow-green's kind of, at least for me, I feel it's dead. At least for this set. Diablo's not bad with the 2 cost on Inkable, but he's a 3/3. So to be able to play him on 2 with a 3/3 that quests for 2, Ruby's never had anything like that. Ares is okay. He's reckless. Once during your turn, whenever you put a card under one of your characters or locations, you may ready chosen character. If you do, that character can't quest for the rest of this turn. If you could get something set up and moving, but meh. This Tinkerbell was going to be great until they did the, and then he threw his Thunderbolt. I think that's the way it's worded. The Steel Song at the end. When we get to that, this Tinkerbell was really cool because it had a Shift Tinkerbell for 3. But with her having only 3 health, I think that just ruins this. That just kind of stinks. Because I was really excited to have a inkable 1-drop for Ruby that can do 3 damage right out of the gate. Or I can just quest and it's like, hit me. You're going to lose whatever you hit me with unless it's like Daisy. The Shere Khan being a 2, that's a 3/3. That's nice. Kind of got the Black Heron stats again later in the set we'll get to. But I think that could see some play. Rama... Whenever you play another character with 5 strength or more, you may ready this character. If you do, he can't quest for the rest of this turn. So you could ready him as you want. It's nice, Ruby, especially as a Ruby Amethyst player from before when I really enjoyed it. We finally get a Rush character that's similar to Mim Fox. Only does 3 damage instead of 4, but it being able to have Rush immediately on 3, that's pretty cool. Downside is I hate this artwork. And that's not knocking anything that Rodrigo, the artist, did. I think the artwork is very high quality. I just don't like the idea of a constipated character being one that I'm going to consistently see on turn 3. I'm just not a fan of that. They could have done this character in a number of different ways. Personally, I don't even want to see Hermes at all. I don't really, I'm not excited about this character whatsoever. It's just not my favorite. This beast is kind of interesting. Boost 2. Whenever he challenges another character, if there's a card under this character, each opponent loses 1 lore and gains 1 lore. The downside is he has low health. So you have to kind of like work that together to really kind of optimize it. But it's something to work with. Tinkerbell, as I mentioned, is pretty cool. Because whenever you play her, you exert chosen opposing character with 2 strength or less. That's nice. But with her low health pool, she's very vulnerable to just being sniped. And that's kind of a big bummer for her not getting played. I would have preferred her to have that ability and be a 4/4. Maybe a 3/5, 4/5. But, yeah. Bronx here is pretty good as far as the gargoyles go. If you have 3... I'm sorry, he has Reckless. And he obviously has the Stone by Day ability, but he's a 6/4 that you play on 3. So you may not get to exert him a lot of times until later in the game, but the fact that he's a 6 on turn 3 is terrifying. And then we got... Was this one of the... Whenever this character gains Rush, that could be good during your turn. Whenever one of your characters is banished, draw a card. That could be good, depending on how you're fighting. I don't really super care for this Goliath. This Hercules, this character can't be dealt damage unless he's being challenged, is disgusting. While this character is exerted, your other hero characters can't be dealt damage unless they're being challenged. So he gives the same ability basically to everybody else that's heroes. If we see this guy kind of get really set up, it's going to be kind of gross. Yes, he can be sniped, which is a nice counterbalance, but you could set him up to really being able to just kind of quest whenever he wants. And I mean, that's pretty nasty. This Donald Ruby champion, it's not even worth the time of day. I wouldn't even look at it. It's toots. Brooklyn here is evasive that does 3 damage. You play him on 2. So if you're playing against evasive, that's not bad. I like that. The Lady Tremaine, I wish this was better. Whenever this character quests, if you've put a card under her this turn, you may play an action with cost 5 or less from your discard for free. Then put that action card in the bottom of your deck, right? Instead of discarding it. So I have to already have her on the table. She has to quest. I have to also boost her. So I have to boost her first, then quest. Then I can go to my discard and pull out an action that's 5 or less and play that for free. That's great because we already have B-King Undisputed and they brought back Dragonfire with alternate art, which is great. Love that. It's a cool card, right? Yay. Downside is that is a lot of steps to get to actually get any benefit out of her, which really is disappointing because I really wish it was like just when boosted, she gets that ability. So I could play her like on turn 7, pay for her 5, pay 2, and immediately get to play Dragonfire over again. Or I sing B-King with a character, then play her, then boost her, replay B-King, and I've taken out 2 of your characters. It's not as good as the Lady Tremaine from before where I just pay 6 and play her and she basically has B-King just already built in. But at least it kind of had some sort of cohesion. But now if I have to play her, let her dry, then quest with her, and I have to also have boosted before I quest, it just sets up a lot of things I have to do just for me to replay an action when Emerald has other ways to replay actions that is just way more efficient than this. That's just as good as banishing a character. Because if I play Mother Knows Best for free, bounce it to your hand, then play Bend to My Will, right? Or I play You're Welcome and make you yeet your character anyway. Yeah, you drew 2 cards, but I got rid of the character. There's just better things that Emerald can do that is very similar to Tremaine. So it just kind of stinks. Headless Horseman has his own enchanted. I think this art, personally, I think this one better. When you play this character, banish chosen opposing character with 2 strength or less. During your turn, whenever an opposing character is banished, each of your characters gets +1 this turn. So I could play him, they get banished, then all of my other characters now get +1 strength for the turn. Downside is he costs 5, he's uninkable, right? He banishes a character when he's played, so he's a lot like Medusa. Medusa was a 4/4 that quested for 1. This is a 4/2 that quests for 2. But before we had Lady Tremaine, who was a 3/4 that quested for 2. Yeah, they both were 6 and uninkable, but they were able to target bigger things. Well, Tremaine, you pick, but you know what I mean. With this only going after 2s, that's not that great. And I know a lot of people used to complain about Medusa, and you had to kind of play around Medusa. You couldn't play Beast, or you couldn't play Robin Hood. You couldn't play Hades. There was a bunch of things that you couldn't play. But it made Medusa good, and you didn't really see a lot of people for very long playing 4 Medusas. They might play 2, right? So it's like with this getting rid of 2 or less, what am I getting rid of? I can't get rid of Dumbos without lowering their strength first. I can't get rid of Clarabelles. I can't get rid of Hades even, the Sapphire Hades. There's just a lot of things that are dangerous that could be bounced or replayed, or they generate some sort of ability that benefits my opponent, and this guy can't do anything. Now, he might be good if he was with Sapphire, but in the testing that I've done so far for Sapphire, I don't really feel that Ruby Sapphire is great yet. Right now, the way I was testing it, I need more time, but the way I was testing it, it's like it's great to have Sapphire Coil or other things like Heads Held High to lower their strength and then hit them with this. But I don't really have a lot of card draw, and there's nothing in Ruby so far that we have seen that draws us almost anything outside of David here. So what am I supposed to do to draw cards in order to benefit lowering my opponent's strength so that Headless Horseman here, so I have to kind of like set up this 1, 2, or 3 punch. It's kind of hard to do that. So I just feel like this is like I love the idea of this, but I kind of feel like it's the Medusa we have at home, and that kind of stinks. Next Stop Olympus is disgusting if paired with Half Shark. I've tested this, and it is incredible. So if you have a character with 5 strength or more in play, any of them, doesn't matter if they're exerted, ready, just played, whatever, you pay 2 less to play this action. The action costs 2, so it's free. You ready chosen character. They can't quest for the rest of this turn. The next time they challenge another character this turn, gain 1 lore. So imagine you do this with Maui Half Shark. Maui Half Shark quest, he sings Pirate's Life. He does whatever he's going to do, right? He's exerted. I now can play Next Stop Olympus for free because he's a 7 strength. Play it for free. I ready the shark. I get 1 lore for playing the action, right? Right off rip. He can't quest. Who cares? He's there to challenge or sing. The next time he challenges something, I gain 1 lore. So I use him to challenge into something. I gain a lore. I decide to bring an action back. I pick Next Stop Olympus. I replay Next Stop Olympus for free. I ready him. I get 1 lore. And I just do that until either Half Shark has cleared your board or he's been banished from challenging stronger things. Either way, I have generated extra lore for myself from both the challenging and from playing the action. And you're just sitting there just watching this nightmare unfold. That is a really, really disgusting combination. But with the way that Sapphire is right now, it doesn't have a lot of the card draw like I mentioned earlier. So you're kind of stuck. You could do something like Time to Go, banish chosen character of yours to draw 2 cards. If that character had a card under them, draw 3 instead. But now I'm blowing up my characters. Right? That doesn't feel great. And it's an action. It's not a song, so I can't even use one of my 3 or higher characters to sing it, blow themselves up, draw the cards, which maybe was going to make it broken with Half Shark. I don't know. But, Dragonfire we already showed. Once during your turn for the Bitterwood, whenever you move a character with 5 or more strength here, you may draw a card. But I have to pay 4 to play it, pay 2 to move them, right? So I have to already have, this is a later in the game thing to draw cards. Not great. So let's just move on to Sapphire. Sapphire, the Daisy that we'll get to is gross. A lot of emphasis was put into Sapphire for this set to work with detectives. I haven't seen a detective build yet that I'm super sold on, but I'm sure someone will come up with something that's decent. I think one of the better cards here is this Daisy. She shifts for 4. She has support, but you're not really worried about that. While this character is exerted. So it doesn't matter what I did, as long as she's exerted. Cards enter opponent's inkwells exerted. So let's say I play my turn 1 Amber Daisy. Turn 2 I ramp or whatever. I just do whatever I'm going to do. Turn 4, or if I've ramped, I shift my Daisy. I quest with her. Right? Now, as long as she stays exerted, so she'll ready every turn. But whenever you go to ink, your ink is already exerted. So it's already spent. Even though you just inked this turn or just then, it's already used. So it now makes your opponent, they're behind basically a turn. So even though they're going to have 4 ink this turn, they really only have 3. And then for every turn that continues, that kind of stacks up. So that could be pretty disgusting. And if we had ways to protect Daisy, whether giving her ward, giving her resist, whatever, that could make her very, very durable, and it just slows down your opponent's tempo because, I might be at 5 ink, but I'm only really playing like I'm on turn 4 again, and that's not good because I was already playing other turns over, and I think it could be good. Could be. This Cinderella has a lot of people all excited. I think she's good, but I don't know if she's necessarily as cracked as what they're thinking. Now, if she ends up in a princess deck, maybe, but I know this is one everyone's trying to make work. 4 uninkable. At the end of your turn, if you played a princess character this turn, you may put a card from your hand into your inkwell face down to draw a card. The upside to her, what I think does make her really valuable, is that she counts herself. So if I play Cinderella because she's a princess, at the end of my turn, I can put any card, because it just says put a card from your hand. It doesn't say an inkable card. Put a card from your hand. I can ink anything into my inkwell, right? It's already the end of my turn, so I can't spend it, but I get to draw a card immediately. So I now have a permanent inkable filter. As long as I play a princess, I can kind of keep this chain going. The thing that I think makes her, or probably maybe prevents her from being just a 4 of in all decks, all Sapphire decks, is the fact, or at least most Sapphire, is the fact she only quests for 1. She only does 2 damage. She only has 3 willpower. These stats are not 4 cost stats. So she's really no threat unless my opponent continues to play princesses. Outside of that, yeah, she could sing a 4 cost song, but I don't have to really worry about Cinderella doing anything else. In the right deck build, she might be just disgusting. But I don't see her making her way into things like blue-green. She's not going to be in there. What's the point of putting her in there? They're already struggling with their uninkable count, right? They already are trying to get Baymax to work and Clarabelle to work and Hades to work and then Under the Sea to work. They don't have any place to put her. So I don't think we'll see her there. Where we might see her, and this is a real risk, is Sapphire Amber Princess. Because that was our Princess deck was already a danger in the last set. It was pretty weak, but if it worked really good. This might make that deck really move a lot better because they're probably going to play a Princess on most turns anyway. And then, yeah, they're inking a card that maybe they do or they don't want, but they're also able to replace that card immediately. That could be pretty crazy. Elsewise, I mean, we've got this Sapphire Daisy. She's the champion for all other Sapphire, your other Sapphire characters gain resist 1. So she's kind of like a Cogsworth. Whenever one of your other Sapphire characters quests me, look at the top card of your deck, put on either the top or bottom of your deck. So it helps you for filtering. And then if you were to use Develop Your Brain, or if it's paired with Amethyst, you play Genie, you draw a card. Like I already filtered, right? And it gives all of your other Sapphire characters. So I could quest with, say, Basil, give support to somebody else. Look at the top card. Do I want to keep it there or not? Right? And then play some, and like you could get a nice little combo thing going off. She's not bad. Detective Mickey is back from first chapter. So it's just when you play this character, you may put the top card of your deck in your inkwell face down and exerted. People are really excited about this because they might be able to pair him together with the Ruby Brave Little Prince from Fabled. Maybe. In my testing, it kind of undoes itself with Spooky Sight because Spooky Sight, we'll just jump down to this. Spooky Sight is one of the better cards in the set. It's one of the more dangerous ones to pay attention to. Put all characters on everybody's characters with cost 3 or less into their player's inkwells face down and exerted. So it's an action, not a song. Can't sing it. But I'm going to put all characters. So for aggro, this is a nightmare. It is a nightmare. And I think this is the card that defeats green-yellow for now. Until green-yellow gets something that can take out actions consistently. They have Mowgli, but it's not that great. So until they get something to kind of take this out of the hand on purpose, like a bare necessities kind of thing, I think it's going to be a problem. Even Amber Sapphire aggro with princesses can play Ludwig, find this and just delete it before my opponent's able to use it. Sapphire can ramp so quickly, especially if they go the route with Detective Mickey, that they could ramp on turn 2. Detective Mickey, so they're ramping on now 3. They could sing one jump ahead. Like this could be coming out, what? As early as turn... If I pay 1, I ramp on 2, I ramp on 3, on turn 4, I could ink and play this. That's pretty scary for aggro players. Now, if they're playing Amber Steel, they could play Pete, and that might slow it down a little bit, enough for them to quest and maybe take the game. We don't know yet. Because my opponent is investing so much into ramping, they're not putting anything else on the table that I really have to worry about. But if they're able to get this off, it's a tactical nuke. It just destroys everything I've got going, probably. Because most things in Amber Steel are 3 and less. And they don't have a lot of big end stuff because the game isn't going long enough for them to be able to draw those into things. So this could be a big deal card. Henwen's Visions, I really like this. You look at the top 4, you put 1 on top, the rest on the bottom. It's not as good as like a Develop Your Brain because you're not replacing the Henwen's card from your hand. But if you're playing something with Sapphire and you're like, look, I didn't see ramp. I need to make sure I find ramp. This might be a better choice than Develop because I'm able to filter through more cards early and be able to get that moving. I could see value with this. Might Solve a Mystery is a 4-cost song. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal up to 1 character card and up to 1 item and put them into your hand. The rest go on the bottom in any order. So it's kind of similar to something like How Far I'll Go, where it was a 4-cost song where you were able to look at cards. Right now, there's not a lot of great items. As I record this, there's not a lot of great items. There's one we're about to get to, but otherwise, it's not real great in core. In Infinity, this song might be disgusting because they've already got Scrooge to look for 4 things to find an item. But you're able to take a character card and an item card and sing it for 4. I mean, that's pretty crazy to draw 2 cards out of it potentially, and it's inkable. That's pretty nuts. Ink Runner, that's the one. 2-cost item, inkable. When you play this item, you draw a card. And you exert it, pay 1, chosen character gains alert this turn, which we haven't gotten to yet. So alert is, you treat your character as if they had evasive, but they don't have evasive for the sake of like things that affect evasive, like Dumbo. Dumbo will not help your character that has alert to draw a card. But it allows your character to go chase down Dumbo and take him out as if you had evasive. The only downside to Ink Runner, primarily, that I see is that it's not a breakable item. So my Tamatoas can't bring it back. I have to have a different way to break the item first, then play Tamatoa to get my Ink Runners back, to then play them and then draw a card, similar to how the cohesion was with Popsicle. So with it not having that, I think that this card just isn't going to see play in this set. Now, I've heard somebody telling me that next set, Ravensburger had mentioned that there's supposed to be more items. If that's true, Ink Runner may be instrumental for that, but I think right now, and Might Solve a Mystery would also be really useful for that. But right now, today, not really impressed by that just yet. This Goliath here, for moving on to Steel. So with Goliath here, he's got really good stats. 6 inkable, that part's expensive, but he's a 6/5 that quests for 2. His ability is at the end of each player's turn, so everyone. If they have more than 2 cards in their hand, they choose and discard until they have only 2. However, if they have fewer than 2, they draw back up until they have 2. And he has the Stone by Day, so if you have 3 or more cards in your hand, this character can't ready. So here's the way that this plays out, right? Because it might be a little bit confusing. I'm a Steel player. I've emptied my hand when I play Goliath. He's the last card I have. I slap him down. I pass. I now have no cards in my hand. I draw 2, right? My opponent goes, they do whatever. My Goliath, I draw for the turn, so I'm back up to 3. I will play, let's say I ink and I play another card. So I'm back down to 1 card. Pass my turn. Goliath is quested, challenge, whatever he's going to do, but he's still on the table. He's exerted. I draw back up to 2, so I draw 1. My opponent takes their turn. They do whatever. It comes back to me. The way that the turn order works is we ready our characters, then we draw. So Goliath will ready, then I draw, which will put me back at 3. So Goliath is already ready and I can still use him to do whatever. So as long as I ink or sing or play out so that I've used 2 of my cards, well, really, as long as I've played 1, Goliath will still be able to ready at the end of my turn, or at the beginning of my next turn, because you don't draw until after you've readied. So that's the loophole that you can kind of use to make this Goliath consistently draw you up to 2 cards per turn as a Steel player. The downside is it does benefit your opponent, but Red Steel might not really care. This might be the card that they've really, really needed to push them into the next level of being playable. And with them being able to challenge readied characters, get lore from attacking, get resist when attacking or challenging, that could be... it could be a big deal, and I think we just need to be aware of that and try to figure out answers for Goliath as the game progresses, and we'll kind of see. Another big Steel card that I'm excited about is this 8-cost Headless Horseman. He shifts for 5. I don't know if that really matters because I'm probably going to see him get played in like Sapphire Steel. His ability is when you play this character, each player, you draw 3 cards. Then you're going to discard 3 cards at random. So they're not going up in cards in total, right? They're going to get 3, shuffle their hand, and you're going to have different ways, roll dice, just randomly pick, whatever. They're going to lose 3 cards. I get to then choose an opposing character and deal 2 damage to them for each action card discarded this way. So potentially, I could discard 3 and my opponent could discard 3, and we could, it's not likely, but in theory, you could see 6 different action cards get discarded, not counting multiplayer where there could be more, where you could do 12 damage to an opponent And I have disrupted my opponent's hand because maybe the things that they were kind of building up for, this comes in here, shuffle that all up. Here's some more cards. Now get rid of 3, right? They have no way to kind of prevent that from happening, and that could disrupt their hand and make them discard something they wanted to keep, and then you get to do 2 damage anyway. So I'd say on average, you're probably going to do 4 to 6 damage to a character. Most characters have less than 6 health. So being able to play this and just blow something up is pretty crazy, I think. I think in Sapphire Steel, that card's going to be really frustrating to sit down from. And I like the art. The art's also nice. My next, there you are. Black Heron. She's a 2-cost inkable 3/3 that quests for 1. I think this card is great. I wish it was a different character that was more memorable just because I think it's going to get played a lot, but it's okay. I think this card's going to be great, and it's going to see a lot of play in Steel decks. Lexington is another one that I could see some people trying to figure out a way to make him work. He's a 3-cost inkable 4/4 with alert, which, he can attack. He is treated as if he has evasive that you can challenge. But he has the Stone by Day ability, so that's kind of a drawback. Now, right now, you're going to kind of see a struggle for the next couple of weeks as Whispers gets released. People are building Steel decks. How am I going to answer evasives? Lexington is able to take out Dumbo. It's able to take out the Amethyst Genie, right? It's able to take out a lot of things. The downside is by the time he gets to do so, I might already still have 3 cards, so he might not ready as often. He might be totally fine. He might not. You're going to see a struggle between, is Steel Dragon Genie better than Lexington for the sake that it always has evasive on my turn and does have a benefit from me playing Dumbo. So for Amethyst Steel, is it better to play the Dragon Genie or Lexington? Lexington allows me to chase down counter evasives, but then I don't get a benefit like I would with Genie and using Dumbo. Now, some people might say, KoBaC, I wasn't doing that anyway. I was. And that helped me in my set champs. I was able to use Steel Genie. I was able to use Smee and Happy. Not all the time, not in every game, but I had options by playing those that somebody on the table was probably evasive. And if I could slap a Dumbo down, I might be able to generate an extra card or 2. Or they also helped me to chase down the other evasives. So I don't really know if I feel comfortable yet abandoning the Steel Dragon Genie. It's worth testing, though, because Lexington being able to take out Amethyst Genies all by himself, and he could still sing Strength, and he's inkable, that's tough. It's a tough counter kind of argument to go with, and he might be one of the most played cards in this set, really. Let's see. Prince Charming. In Blue Steel, this might be gross. So each turn, only one character can challenge. That goes both ways. So he's a bodyguard. So I could slap him down. 10 willpower, 10 health. Not easy to get through, right? Not at all. And I look at you and I say, yeah, but every turn you can only challenge me with 1 pick until Prince Charming is gone. That's really crazy, and in the right builds this might be absolutely disgusting. Just disgusting. I personally like this Fairy Godmother. Whenever you put a card under this character, you may banish chosen opposing character. If you do, their player may reveal the top card of their deck. If that card is a character or item, they may play it for free, otherwise it goes on the bottom of their deck. Being able to play this Fairy Godmother and perpetually have, I can boost her for 3, and it basically is a knockoff Dragonfire. That could be kind of crazy. That could be really crazy. Now, yeah, they might get a character, but they're gonna drop in, for free, or they get an item. Most decks aren't running things like Maleficent Dragon, where if I play it, or Hades, where I play it and then they're just gonna smack me right back, right? Like most things, that might end up being the best thing to do, is to just banish it and just hope that on the other side. But just having that as a built-in option is pretty crazy. I don't know if she's great, but I kind of like having it around. This is the card that I think hands down is going to reshape the meta. Personally, not thrilled with it. It's he hurled his thunderbolt. So it's a four uninkable song. You deal 4 damage to chosen character. Your deity characters get Challenger 2 this turn. I don't really think that second part's really going to be relevant because most don't have any deities to even run with. But being able to do 4 damage to chosen character is disgusting. And I've been playing the game since set 1. I remember the days of, because they were really just until they were rotated, the days of And Along Came Zeus, where that's doing 5 damage, but it was a 4-cost uninkable song similar to this. That one could hit characters and locations. I think with this one being able to do 4 damage to chosen character, it makes Troubadours disgusting again, right? I played that on 2, turn 3, I can just take stuff out. It makes turn 2 Rhinos super scary. So I think this card right here will see the removal of Tianas, the Amber Tianas. I think the Amethyst Yzma is also going to be phased out. And Dumbo this is the decline in Dumbo's secondary market value is this right here, because this is a constant threat that we have to think about when playing those 3 cards. And I think that it reshapes the meta back to this. And I personally don't like it because I finally got used to, for one set, I got used to not having a immediate answer to most things that I played. And now if I'm ever sitting across from Steel, I have to think, are they going to just do 4 damage and just blow this up? So things like even the new Tremaine, the new Shift Tinkerbell, those are all vulnerable to 4 health. Tiana's, as I mentioned, Yzma's, Dumbo's, Amethyst Genie. There's a lot of things that get nuked from this or we pair it together with strength and this, and then, I mean, we can take out almost anything that's ever on the board. And that's just terrifying. And it really hurts, I think, the creativity in a little ways, because we had that before and the meta was very removal heavy. And then we got away from that and now we're back to it. It does 1 less damage, but it still takes out a lot of things. I would have preferred something that did 3. That was like a 3-cost song, inkable or not, that did 3 damage. Yeah, that would still take out Dumbo's and Yzma's, but it wouldn't blow up Tiana's, so she had a little bit of use, and some other things where you're just like, maybe. I just kind of think it puts us in a place where a lot of cards are just instantly not thought to be played. And I think that's a bummer. The Sword of Hercules is interesting. When you play this item, banish chosen opposing deity character. But the better thing is the second side. During your turn, or the second ability, during your turn, whenever one of your characters banishes another character in a challenge, you gain 1 lore. So for Steel players, primarily this is going to be in a Ruby Steel or another like really, really aggressive fighty deck, which is probably just that right now. They're going to be able to put this item down, already set themselves up. Now Calhoun's are going to challenge you, and they're getting 3 lore. I play Mushu. We're going to get an automatic 3 lore off of things, right? When I banish your characters in the challenge. That could be just really, really crazy. And something that is very interesting is that Steel got 3 different locations. Now, I believe this is the one, right? That's the better one. Well, you have a character here. This location gets +1 lore for each other location you have in play. While you have a character here, you pay 1 less to play locations. So last set, they reprinted the Steel John Silver that worked with locations. And it was weird because it's like, there's no locations for this guy to even do anything with. Like, that seems kind of dumb. Maybe they were already setting up for the next thing, because that one is crazy. This one is characters gain Challenger 1 and resist 1 while here. So you put John Silver there. Now he's doing 4 damage, and you give him an additional resist to the resist he gets for every location you have in play. That's very terrifying. And Zootopia, once during your turn, whenever you move a character here, you may draw a card, then choose and discard. That's not super great, but that is. And that is. So that is it for the cards. I mean, you can see all these epics and the iconics and the enchanteds and stuff. But as far as the set goes, that is the main things, the biggest things that kind of stick out to me. Do a separate video to kind of start talking about a couple of different decks that I think might have a chance. I'm curious, which cards do you guys think are like the big standouts for you, and which ones you think are going to be your like most sought after as Whispers hits? I think for me, top one card is getting my hands on those Hades and a Demona or two. Obviously getting, then he threw his Thunderbolt. And then from there, because that kind of ties right into my purple steel deck, from there, I'd like some of these daisies to work with my wife's princess deck. And we'll kind of see from there, like what else is going to really begin to shape things as things continue on. Like this Cheshire Cat might be fun and a couple other things. Anyway, I'm excited for the set. I think this set has a lot of promise to it. I'm excited for a full set and not a rotation set. And anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. I'll talk to you guys again in the next video. Bye.